We've all been through tough times. I know I have. There were moments in my life where I felt overwhelmed, like life was closing in on me, and I didn't know what to do. I've faced job failures, financial struggles, personal heartbreaks, and many sleepless nights wondering how I'd ever pull through. I bet you've been there too, at least once. Life has this way of knocking us down just when we think we're doing okay. During one of the most difficult times in my life, I came across Stoic philosophy. At first, it seemed like a bunch of ancient ideas that wouldn't really help me. But as I read more, I realized that Stoic wisdom is timeless. It speaks directly to the challenges we face every day. And when times got tough for me, these Stoic lessons became my guide. So I want to share some of these lessons with you. Ones that helped me stay strong when things were falling apart. These ideas aren't just abstract philosophy. They're practical, and I'm going to tell you how they worked in my own life. Let me start with a personal story. A few years ago, everything seemed to be going wrong at once. My career wasn't progressing the way I wanted it to, and I felt stuck. Financially, I was barely getting by, and on top of that, I was dealing with a tough breakup. It felt like my life had spiraled out of control, and I had no idea how to fix it. I remember sitting in my apartment, looking out the window one evening, thinking, why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? The more I thought about it, the worse I felt. My mind was racing, and I couldn't focus on anything. That's when I came across a quote by Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That quote stuck with me. I started thinking, maybe it's not the situation itself that's the problem. Maybe it's how I'm looking at it. One of the biggest lessons I learned from Stoicism is the importance of focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we can't. When times get tough, we often stress about things that are outside of our control. That was me. I was constantly worried about everything that was going wrong, and I felt powerless because I couldn't fix it all. But then I read something from Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic thinker. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This hit me hard because I was doing the opposite. I was focusing on all the things I couldn't control. My financial problems, the heartbreak, the uncertain future. Once I started shifting my focus, things began to change. Instead of stressing about my job situation, I started thinking about what I could do today. Small steps that were within my control. I couldn't control whether my ex-partner came back, but I could control how I reacted and how I moved forward. Slowly, I began to feel more grounded. This is a powerful lesson. When times get tough, ask yourself, what can I control in this situation? You'll find that most of the stress comes from worrying about things outside of your control. Shift your focus to what's within your power, and you'll feel stronger. Another important lesson I learned from Stoicism is that challenges are not obstacles. They are opportunities for growth. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." That really made me think. I realized that every tough situation I've faced in life has helped shape who I am today. But during the time I was going through it, all I could focus on was how much it hurt. I remember a specific moment when this lesson really hit me. I had just started a new business venture, and things weren't going well. After months of hard work, it wasn't paying off the way I'd hoped. I was frustrated and ready to give up. But then I remembered this Stoic idea. Tough times are where we grow the most. Instead of seeing my business struggles as a failure, I started viewing them as a learning experience. It wasn't easy, but once I shifted my mindset, things started to change. I wasn't as stressed about the results because I knew that even if this project didn't work out, I was learning valuable lessons that would help me in the future. And guess what? Eventually, that venture did start to pay off, but only after I embraced the challenges instead of running from them. Remember, when things get tough, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? You may not see it immediately, but these hard times are opportunities to grow stronger, more resilient, and wiser. One of the hardest things to accept when life feels tough is that nothing lasts forever. It feels like the pain, stress, or heartbreak will never end. I know this feeling well. There was a time when I went through a really painful breakup. It felt like my whole world had shattered. I couldn't imagine ever feeling okay again. But the Stoics teach us about impermanence. Marcus Aurelius said, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." This was a tough pill to swallow, but it helped me realize that no matter how bad things feel right now, they won't last forever. Everything in life is constantly changing, and that includes the tough times. In the middle of my heartache, I started to remind myself of this truth. I knew that if I kept moving forward, even in small steps, things would eventually get better. And they did. The pain didn't disappear overnight, but slowly it faded. This was such an important lesson for me. No matter how bad things seem, they will change. Tough times don't last forever. When I was going through tough times, my mind was always racing. I was either stuck worrying about the past or stressing about the future. But the Stoics teach that the only moment we truly have is the present. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." I realized that a lot of my stress came from worrying about things that hadn't even happened yet. I would think, what if my business fails? What if I never find love again? But these thoughts weren't helping me. They were only making me more anxious. One day, I decided to try something different. Instead of stressing about the future, I focused on what I could do in the present. I focused on the small tasks in front of me, things I could control today. And it made a huge difference. I started feeling more grounded, less overwhelmed by the what-ifs. This lesson is simple. When life feels tough, focus on what's happening right now. What can you do in this moment to move forward? Don't let the fear of the future steal your peace in the present. During the hardest times in my life, I often felt weak, like I wasn't strong enough to handle what was happening. But the Stoics remind us that we are much stronger than we give ourselves credit for. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." In other words, true strength comes from mastering our own mind and emotions. When I was going through one of my toughest periods, I kept telling myself I wasn't strong enough to handle it. I felt like giving up. But then I started to remind myself of all the times I had faced challenges before and survived. I had been through hard times before, and I made it through. That gave me the confidence to believe that I could get through this tough time too. And I did. Once I started believing in my own strength, everything changed. I started taking action, even if it was small steps, and slowly I began to rebuild my life. Remember, you are much stronger than you think. When times get tough, remind yourself of the challenges you've already faced and overcome. You've made it through hard times before, and you can do it again. Finally, one of the most powerful lessons from Stoicism is the practice of gratitude. It's easy to focus on what's going wrong in our lives when things get tough. I used to do this all the time. I would think, why is this happening to me? Why can't things just go right? But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours. This quote changed the way I think about tough times. Even when things feel like they're falling apart, there are always things to be grateful for. I started a habit of writing down 3 things I was grateful for every day. It didn't make my problems disappear, but it did shift my perspective. I started focusing on what was going right instead of just what was going wrong. Gratitude helps us stay grounded. When times get tough, it's easy to focus on the negative. But if you can find even a few things to be thankful for, it can change your entire mindset. Life is full of challenges. Tough times are inevitable. But Stoic philosophy has taught me that how we respond to those tough times is what truly matters. Remember these lessons when life gets hard. Focus on what you can control, see challenges as opportunities for growth. Accept that everything is temporary, stay present, remember your inner strength, and practice gratitude. I'm not saying these lessons will make tough times disappear, but they will help you stay strong and grounded through the storm. You've made it through tough times before, and you will again. You are stronger than you think.